inside Abuja. Abuja. Oh yeah. Abuja. You are welcome to inside Abuja. Abuja. Oh yeah. Abuja. You are welcome, alright, to inside Abuja. Abuja. Oh yeah. Abuja. You are welcome to inside Abuja.
It's good. Well, moving on, our focus for today on Dateline Abuja is the rise of domestic violence in our country. Well, domestic violence is known to be a serious problem and concern in Africa and in Nigeria. Well, it has shown no sign of lessening. According to the Amnesty International, 1/3 of women in Nigeria are believed to have been subjected to physical, sexual, and psychological violence carried out primarily by husbands or partners and even fathers, whereby most victims lose their lives in the process. Well, although there are no insufficient data on domestic violence in Nigeria, and it is primarily due to the stigma and silence surrounding this issue. Well, there is, however, still one question that remains unanswered. What is the reason behind the high increase of domestic violence in Nigeria? Well, we went into the streets to get mixed reactions from residents of Abuja on domestic violence. Let's take a listen.
The people that suffer the most are the women and the children. Yes, the children, I think. The children, they suffer the most. And I think this government is doing a lot about it. And I believe very shortly it's going to be a thing of the past by the special grace of God. I will advise the men that form the habit of beating their wives to desist, because even God himself is not happy about it. It's like one beating himself. Once you are married, you have a wife. Once you are joined to a woman, or a woman is joined to you, it means you have become one. And when you are beating your wife, you are beating yourself. And they know it's only a madman that can beat himself.
Man where they beat woman, e no good. And any man will get sense, will drink in mother breast very, very well, not supposed to beat his wife. Because once both of them marry themselves, they have become one. Any man will beat his wife, now particularly he beat himself. If that man can reason it well, he beat himself. And for my own mind now, to stop it, it better make government know what thing they can do, because many families today, many men today, they are good in beating their wife. Whether any small thing, they go just carry something, begin the knock up. It's no good for my own mind.
When you hear domestic violence, it is not just about hitting, fighting, or an occasional mean argument. It is a chronic abuse of power. And with the high increase of domestic violence in our country, people ask questions like, what leads to this? Or how did it even start? Well, my guest here with me will be discussing more on domestic violence in Nigeria and a way forward. Well, my guest today on Dateline Abuja, they'll be joining me discussing the rise of domestic violence, hashtag say no to domestic violence. I have with me Mrs. Peggy Usman. She is an educationist and administrator at LSM Early Years School. You're welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you very much.
And I also have a barrister in the building, Barrister Shema Okoye. Did I get that right? Sharina Okoye, okay. She's a legal practitioner and the founder of African Kids and Women Rights Empowerment Initiative here in Abuja. You're welcome to Dateline Abuja. First thing, thank you guys, and we are women. So of course we're fighting against the increase and the rise against domestic violence in Nigeria. Well, first things, Barrister, can you tell us what you understand by domestic violence?
When it comes to domestic violence, there's no clear-cut definition. But basically, domestic violence would include acts of abuse, physical torture, could be beating up a person, could also be emotional abuse, it could be psychological abuse. All those are classes of domestic violence. And it becomes domestic violence when it's inflicted by either a spouse or a family member on an individual.
Thank you. Mrs. Peggy, can you tell us what you think leads to domestic violence, especially in homes?
Well, I feel the culture, personally, and financial instability leads to domestic violence, and also the society, as it may be. People look at what the society has to say, what the norms and all that. But for me, I look at domestic violence in three categories, where you have first of all, you have the emotional abuse, you move on to the verbal abuse, and it extends to the physical abuse. Those are like sum up in the domestic violence issue, where you have a case of the culture where you're in and the family can't really back you up. You go back to your parents and your mom is like, you don't have to worry, you just have to calm down. It has happened to me, it has happened to your auntie and all that. So you just look at it and you're like, where do I run to when my family are sending me back to the hell I just came from? So you're stuck in the middle. You can't go back to the society, you can't talk to your friends because you're scared of the stigma that comes with it. Because they're like, you have failed. Women see it as a failure on their parts. Like they have failed in their marriages, so they can't come out and tell their friends these are the challenges we are having or I'm having in my home. Yeah. So, and also it comes to financial instability when a woman really don't have anything to do. So many things. When for every penny you go and ask your husband, you want to buy salt, you go and ask your husband. Like, it's ridiculous.
Okay, so you say women cannot rely on their husbands?
No, I'm saying you cannot be totally dependent on the man because it takes away your self-esteem. It takes away the level of respect he has for you. So you don't just meet your husband for every single penny. What happens? He gives you 10 naira. Fine. You should have your own 2 naira to add to it to make it 12 naira. So that you can as well get something that is worthwhile. Why would you depend totally on a man? We are not limited, so why are you limiting yourself?
But now I think domestic violence actually crosses across like your different races, cultures, careers. So it means that education, meaning that a woman can be well empowered and she can even be the backbone of the family, but she can still be a subject to domestic violence. What do you have to say about that?
Yes, that's very true. It cuts across cultures, professions, different cadres of society and social classes. Yes, it does. But I think what she's saying is true. It's more prevalent in people who are either economically or financially challenged. Like for instance, there was a case I had forced to handle through my NGO. A girl was being abused by her father. This was a girl of about 15, 14. And the mother was aware, but she was willing to look the other way because according to her, how would I survive without him? So she was willing to let that abuse continue on the little child simply because of funds. So yes, it's true. It happens in every stage. It happens to a rich person, a poor person, but it's more prevalent among the lower income group. And they are more reluctant to leave that source of income, that perceived source of income, and then they are willing to stay in their abuse.
Okay, a lot of women are not coming now. We have statistics saying that 25%. Earlier on, we talked about it. 25% of the population of women in Nigeria are being domestically abused. And of course, we know that we are not so good with statistics.
Certainly.
So
because the people, the ones that we can't even capture in the statistics, are even, to me, I feel they are even more than what we are talking about. There are so many women dying in silence in the rural areas, in other places around, that the statistics we're talking about cannot even capture that data. And mind you, if they're able to capture that, it's way above 50%, if I may say.
Wow.
Yes.
Barrister, do you have anything to add to that, and what does the law do to protect the rights of women?
Okay, basically, there's something we call the culture of silence. I think I personally refer to it as a conspiracy in society. They shame the victim and applaud the perpetrator. Like, for instance, most women, when they go around to probably report to the police station about domestic abuse, the response of the authorities is not nice, it's not encouraging. Like in the case I just told you about the 15-year-old girl, when we went to the police station, the police were referring to her father who abused her as her boyfriend. Imagine the psyche of that girl. So we have cases like this where the victims are made to feel shame for going through those things. Now, the law on its own has been doing its best to protect, but of course, like most structures in Nigeria, it still needs a lot of work. For instance, what we had in the past was basically the Criminal Code Act, which applies in the South, and the Penal Code Act, which applies in the North. Those were things we relied on to probably get prosecution against such matters. And at times, even to prosecute, you will have issues of people telling you it's a marital affair, it's between the husband and wife, you shouldn't come in. But now, recently, in 2015, there was the introduction of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, and that has been like a very serious answer to this question of domestic violence, because under the act, several things that were not provided for under the criminal code or penal code are now enacted in the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. For instance, section 19, subsection 1, expressly prohibits spousal abuse. It makes spousal battery an offense. Not only criminalizes it, specifies the offense, the punishment for it, I think 3 years imprisonment. And then it also gives an option of fine of 200,000 naira. It also goes further to even criminalize attempting spousal abuse. It also goes further to even criminalize inciting someone to abuse his or her spouse. So I think that's a very good development.
How successful has that been?
Yes.
And can you give example? Yes.
The unfortunate thing with that, though, it's still, because it's a federal legislation, applicable mostly in Abuja. In other states, it hasn't been domesticated by their state legislatures.
Wow.
So we still rely on
wow.
the old
36
laws.
states in Nigeria. Wow.
And so most activists and organizations are pushing for that to be ratified.
But sorry, you're also a lawyer, and you also have an NGO.
Yes.
Most of these NGOs, they're actually in Abuja. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, we kind of have other NGOs
in states.
States, yeah, like Lagos, Kano, Kaduna,
or smaller states.
Yes. NGOs all over the country.
Yeah.
And some of them in Abuja also have branches in other places.
States,
partner with those ones in other places.
Okay.
And something I've always believed about activism is a collective work. You can't do it alone.
Certainly.
So regardless of wherever you're situated or wherever you're located, there has to be a synergy.
Okay. Well, Peggy Usman, you are an educationist. What do you think the effects of this domestic violence are on children?
It's, in fact, it's way beyond what you and I are seeing, because it's a psychological damage. Yes. It introduces them to violence. It introduces them to anger. You just wonder, when you see some child in school, they misbehave, they act up in a certain manner, you wonder, where are they getting this from? But when you check critically, you trace it back to their background, to their roots, where they're coming from, and you realize that they're coming from an abusive home, a violent home. In fact, I call it high definition violence, because they grow up in this, they're growing up in this setting where they know nothing but violence. They see violence, they speak violence, their parents say violent things to them, they even abuse them violently. They want to talk to their mother, they talk to her in a violent manner. So they don't even know that there's a word called courtesy when you're relating to a woman. So you see some men, when they're talking to a woman, they just talk to them in a harsh tone, in a harsh manner, and you'll be like, where's this coming from? So it affects the children hugely.
I'm sure you've seen most of that in your school. Have you seen any?
No, we don't really have a case in my school.
Okay.
But as an educationist, I have read and I have seen cases in other places where you have a child misbehaving, and you just wonder, why is this child misbehaving? And when you add the 1 and 2 together, you call the parents. Even the parents, when they come, they're sitting in front of you and they're talking. You see the man talking, hey, please shut up. She's not talking to you. What do you know?
What do you think is the way forward? We know that we've been talking about it. One of this is by information and creating awareness. But we need to know. A lot of people. Okay, do you have any examples by going to reporting to the local authorities? A lot of people, like you have the police, and do you think people should go there first if you have any cases of domestic violence?
I feel you seek professional help. But
you need to report the case first.
Yes, certainly. That's the first. You say no. You don't even shut up. First of all, there's no point why you should keep silent. You must seek professional help. You either, there are media houses, and thank God for social media. Social media is all. In fact, they have helped the case right now. It's everywhere. It's on our face. You move left, you turn right. It's there. So these women have access to social media. So why are you not using it?
What of the women who don't have access to social media?
I think different from what she's saying, even apart from social media, and women who don't have access to social media. I think the world is a circle. Everybody knows at least one person that knows a lawyer.
Yeah.
There are lawyers everywhere. They may not, a lawyer for personal reasons may not
on pro bono.
He may not want to take your case, but he has colleagues that will be willing to take your case. If you watch, a lot of lawyers are activists these days, like myself, because there's a rise in the stem of cases of violence against women. It's getting so much, and it's worrisome, even against children, because most times the fallout of this is from abusing the mother. It
falls to the children.
And then how do you protect?
So what do you think as a lawyer? What do you think is the first stop? Okay, I've been abused. Where should I go to? Especially for teenagers who have been sexually abused. Nobody wants. There's a stigma behind it. Like, am I running to my pastor, or am I running to police? Will the police look at me in a certain way? And some families will be like, oh, you can't come out to say you've been raped. Yeah. So where do you think people should go to? First stop.
I think first of all, you can either go to the police station or you go to a lawyer. Most people would not prefer to go to a police station because of the reception they get. At times, without any disrespect to the police, they could be a bit insensitive to the plight of such victims. They try to make mockery of them or speak in ways that derogatory to them and worsen it. But you could approach a lawyer, that's one. You could go to NGOs, they're all over the place. There are a lot of NGOs that take up women's rights and protection of children as well. Even apart from that, they have Ministry of Women Affairs in different states, and also in the FCT. They take up those cases. It's a very serious issue, because domestic violence is not something anybody should keep quiet about. Most times it starts with a slap, and you think it's just a slap, he apologizes. Tomorrow is a kick. And
Warning
tomorrow,
signs.
you're attending a burial. It's unfortunate, but it's very, very, it's so prevalent.
Okay, sorry, taking you back, I'm sure there are signs in relationships that people actually ignore or sweep under the carpet. Do you want to say anything about that?
Certainly, it's called red signals, red flags. You cannot be in a relationship when you're talking, the man tells you, if I slap you. Certainly, if he used the word, if I slap you, he will make it a reality. He will definitely give you a dirty slap. In fact, the one that turns your face from the right to the left. So you certainly you cannot be in that kind of relationship. So that's a warning sign to start with. So when a man tells you that, he goes the extra. Maybe you say something, he gets angry, and he pushes it on, oh, I was angry, you shouldn't have said that to me. I'm the man now, and when I'm talking, you don't talk. So, and that was why I had to slap you.
Then you ignore that.
You ignore, and the funniest part is women even condole this. Wow. They help these men to seal it up, they cover it, so you don't even know about it.
And some people anticipate it, like welcome it.
Yes.
How?
Yes, I've had very unfortunate encounters where different ladies walked up to me and told me they were not comfortable in a relationship where they were not being physically abused. I think that has to do with cultural orientation.
That person needs to see a psychiatrist.
Yes, because Nigeria is a very traditional state. And so a lot of people grew up with this belief that it's a patriarchal society, obviously, with this belief that a man has to use force or violence to exert his influence. He's the head of the family, therefore whatever he says goes, and he can enforce his will with his fists. No, authority is different from power. You may be in charge of the house because you're the head of the family. No one is disputing that, but you don't have to exert it by trying to beat up on someone weaker than you. I think there's no justification for that.
Okay, before we go, lastly, can you tell women folks out there what they need to do, and if they are in abusive relationships, what you think they should do?
First of all, I say a woman should not be totally dependent on the man. You must be financially stable. You have to get that straight. No matter how little it is, you must get something to do. So you cannot afford to stay redundant. You cannot afford to. And when it happens, when it gets out of hand, sorry, I'm not advising, I'm not encouraging divorce, but I say run for your dear life. Because it's when you're alive, you can tell your story. When you're dead, someone else tells your story. So get yourself together, seek counsel, professional help before anything. If not, you're going 6 feet in that marriage.
Thank you so much. And Barrister, do you have anything to say to your co-lawyers out there, since you're saying we should run to our lawyer and also the authorities?
Yes, I think the law in itself places a burden on lawyers to work for societal good. It's not just about cases or briefs that put your name on billboards or wherever. It's about affecting society positively and impacting lives. That's really the basis of the law, and retaining that sanity in society. That's why we have the judiciary as the watchdog to overlook the acts of the legislature and the executive. For instance, you have acts, you have laws, like even in the penal code, there's a section that is under contention, and even we as activists will be contending that section 55(1) of the penal code to an extent allows a man to beat up his wife. Yes,
wow.
So that's the interpretation that we need to it. But because based on the way it's couched, it says if it is done, whatever act of assault is done in correction of the woman's activities, so long as they are subject to customary laws or native customs that makes that kind of correction legal, then it's not an offense. That's what it says.
Wow.
But of course, it's contrary to the constitution. You understand? So the constitution overrides any law that is contrary to it, and it makes that law null and void. But I'm not aware if this has come up before in the court for interpretation. But regardless, these are acts that lawyers can take up.
Okay.
You can institute class actions, you can institute representative actions. You can also take up pro bono cases. And good enough, there's something very wonderful about the legal profession. One of the requirements of being an SM is you should have done several pro bono cases. So it's also like an incentive. And many lawyers on their own are just naturally born activists.
Oh, well, beautiful. There's so much we can talk about domestic violence. Well, the women out there you've heard, and also the men who are part of this domestic violence, you've heard well from our women. Here we're talking to Mrs. Peggy Usman. She's an educationist, the administrator of LSM Early Years School here in Abuja, and also Barrister Sherina Okoye, a legal practitioner, and also the founder, African Kids and Women Rights Empowerment Initiative. Thank you guys so much for being part of Dateline Abuja. The program is Dateline Abuja. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Well, with domestic violence still on the rise, people should be made to understand that adults can change the social norms that justify domestic violence. Also, the women and girls should be also sensitized and educated to draw the line between love and abuse. Well, that's a wrap on Dateline Abuja for today. Thanks for staying with us. From Dateline Abuja, we wish you the happy Democracy Day in arrears. And don't forget to follow us on our social media page shown right now on your TV screen, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel for subsequent broadcasts also showing right now on your TV screen. Till I come your way, same time, same station, I'm Hawa Momo. Take good care of yourself and good morning.